Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
9, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.
G'day, good morning, good afternoon from all around the world. My name's Stephanie B. Welcome to Starbase Weekly, episode 204 from RGV Aerial Photography. We took a bit of a gamble on the weather this week and went for a fly on Saturday, and the universe played the game for us and opened up the clouds for us just as we got to Starbase. So we managed to get another awesome set of photographs, and we're going to go through them for you today. I've got Jake with me. G'day, Jake.
Hey everyone, hope you're doing really well. And I think we did quite well in the end yesterday with the flyover. It's looked a bit sketchy at first, but yeah, the weather seemed to actually cooperate in the end. So yeah, got plenty of nice photos over it, and look forward to discussing them during this show today.
And we've got Ryan Hansen Space with us today as well. G'day, Ryan. Really good to have you on the show.
Yeah, good to be here. Yeah, as Jake said, got a lot of good weather for this flyover, and some good lighting that allowed us to see some other interesting things. And as always, there's a lot of pretty cool stuff happening all across the site. So we got a lot of photos to go over today.
Here's a bit of a sort of an example of how we're going with the clouds. We had to dodge a few clouds, but we managed to, as you can see, get some awesome images. So let's start with this tank today. So this week we noticed something we noticed in particular. We noticed these extra bits on these black steel parts here. We've been noticing these bits for quite some time, but only, was it this week, Jake? We've only just noticed these. We haven't really noticed these last week, did we?
Yeah, so the bits further back towards by the railings, they've been there for obviously quite a while, but it was only this week that we actually noticed that they seem to be a bit of extra hardware attached to the ends of them now. And yeah, we now got the answer as exactly what they are, and they're pistons. Although, what I will say is, at the moment, there doesn't seem to be anything on the B18.3 test tank for these to actually attach to. They may go and add hardware like that later on, or these pistons might actually be for the next test article to go in this cage. Yeah, remains to be seen exactly what they get used on.
So tell us about that nose cone in the factory there. Ryan, have you got any idea what's on that new nose cone that has all the hardware attached to it?
Yeah, I've had some theories about that nose cone. It seems like it could be related to testing what happens with like the ship payload bay when they go to tip over the ship to make it horizontal. Some of the or anything that would really impart a lot of stress on the nose cone and the payload bay itself, depending on what they're going to do. I think they're going to try and utilize the lifting points when they go to transition the ships horizontally. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to trying to actuate something like on the tip of the nose, like they are with that nose cone. But it would at least impart a force on the payload area that would act a little bit like a lever arm. So it's possible that could be what's going on there. But yeah, it's I think that may be unrelated to kind of what we're seeing here with these extra actuators.
Okay, cool. Thank you. There's all sorts of weird things going on here. This grand shot showing this thing I don't think I've seen before. That'd be Cash there. Go Cash is speaking to his international fans. Stop it.
You can actually
What are
see
those things?
back to that left in this photo, Stephanie. You can see how the piston is actually angled upward. You can actually just barely see the pivot point on the right-hand side of this piston, but if you go back to the left, you can see the other piston is actually angled upwards. I think it's right there. So that's probably to allow maybe some shrinkage or movement of the tank itself if it's under cryo. And it's interesting how they're kind of reaching back with like a square tube to the outer arc of the stand to kind of lock it in place, and then there's just a really short piston actually in place there, because most of that is kind of a fixed kind of arm structure, and then at the very end is just the piston.
Yeah, exactly. You can see the piston here. It's got a little bit of travel ability, but yeah, it's not overly long. A nice up close of the attachment of the rods to the rams here. Oh, every connection has one of these. I wonder if they're to do with a load cell or something. These little tags. Actually hadn't noticed them before. Oh, this photo's got heaps of detail we haven't noticed before. So this was the day of the flyer, is that right, Indy, these photos? I forgot to mention we have Indy Star on stream as well today to do questions and donations.
Yes, the day of the flyover. He did them yesterday.
That's incredible. He does such incredible work. Oh, this is a really good photo. We haven't seen down here for a little while, but yeah, we've seen down here in the past, especially with the other the last test tank that was in here. So that does, Jake. That's
what you've been.
We'll go.
I was going to say, well, if you go down again a bit, what you can see quite well there as well is the how the test tank bolts to the stand at the bottom there. That's the interface, so yeah.
Oh, that's an awesome detail, yep. It's funny, Jake, we were just talking about these rams yesterday in Show and Tell, and all of a sudden later on in Patreon Lounge, this photo pops up.
Yeah, that was kind of perfect timing, to say the least.
Just while we're quickly here, let me see. I haven't actually looked at these photos. Let me see. Can we see the other? Oh, there's a booster. There's a booster in the background. It's a bit like a Show and Tell, actually. So yeah, booster 18. Sorry, what am I talking about? Booster 20. Booster 18. I don't want to. Sorry, I'm not cursing it. I promise I'm not cursing that booster.
That photo right there, Stephanie, might actually be good for pointing out the little pin there at the back of the grid fin compartment. You can kind of just barely see a piece in there.
Yeah, so I'm calling that a spigot. It's sort of basically a spigot. The back of the grid fin sort of sits in there, and that gives it that inside sort of attachment point, which you probably wouldn't be able to get to, would you, to actually attach a bolt? You just sort of like, it'd just push in, wouldn't it? Oh, well, I don't think we've actually ever seen this far into a socket before. Cool. I was trying to see the land. Oh, there's a landing tank back there. It's got a crane in the way, I see. Yep. So it's been through a few tests. Not sure about the last week. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? And one of the tests that stayed frosty for like 30 hours. Yeah, back to
Yeah,
where
it's been, I think, tested twice now. And then, yeah, that last test, well, actually both tests, there was quite a bit of frost along the bottom of the test tank for quite a while after they finished testing. And yeah, the last test, it was about 33 hours until the final bit of frost actually dissipated from that landing tank. Yeah, it's quite interesting.
So last week we saw this funny whittle tree thing here, and Chrome Kiwi got busy and looked around and finally found them over here. And I've got no idea what they are exactly, but there's some kind of lifting frame, I guess. There's a couple of different angles of them. They're a weird looking thing. They've got like a center pivot and then two. No, there is a better photo of that. And like little triangles on the end that on these ones they're just sitting on the edges here, whereas this one over here it's actually assembled. We never saw them getting used, so still not exactly sure what they are. Actually, not exactly sure, no idea what they are actually.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I saw that, the first time I saw the one by the Super Crusher, it did remind me a lot of some sort of lifting structures, but yeah, there's a lot more to these compared to the ones that we've seen used on test tanks previously. So yeah, and it does seem these don't actually attach to the top of something, but rather the side of a tank, maybe. Because if you look at that one down on its side on the pallet there, you can see there's actually a bit of a curvature to it. So yeah. So maybe they're more. It's possible these are test hardware for another test article, maybe.
Oh, you think they're the same? Okay. I hadn't related those to being the same things, and that's because, yeah, maybe. Okay.
Yeah, just to add to that, you can see they're just basically in multiple stages of construction. Like the one just above your hand is less put together than the one your hand's on now, which is a little less put together than the one at the very bottom. And then you can see all the little extra pieces off to the side to keep building those other ones. Yeah, plus those railing
I think
pieces just to the right.
Yeah, I think there are two different types here.
You know, I looking at these now, I'm wondering if it's related to those pistons, Jake, because the piece, you know, the angle that's sticking up looks like it could basically be a clevis that would fit into the end of that spherical bearing on that piston, and then the way that they're kind of distributing that load on that curved surface around kind of the circumference of like what appears to be a 9-meter tank, that they could weld that to a test article and then bolt it to the end of these pistons and then actually be able to pull and push on the actual tank wall.
That would make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, I could see that being the case.
I'm still not entirely sure why they would need to do a test like this, especially given the positioning of, you know, of these pistons around the kind of circumference of the test stand. They're not exactly really indicating anything yet. They kind of skip, you know, a couple of openings, and so I'm not really sure what the kind of symmetry implies with that. But yeah, the pushing and pulling indicates some sort of a force on the kind of external part of the tank.
Is there another one through there? It's a bit hard to tell. I can't really tell if that's one or not over there. Yeah, that's interesting, Ryan. That's a good little, yeah, actually. I can see how they seem to be sort of exactly the right size and shape and curvature. And yeah, there's like a slot in here that could actually, fit. So that would give it some. So what are we looking at? So that allows a lot of movement in sort of 1, 2, sort of 3 degrees of movement, doesn't it? Of freedom, sorry.
Yeah, the end of that would be a spherical bearing, so it has some, orientation that it can allow for, and then you've got the piston that can actually rotate up and down. So you pretty much have full movement that this could stay fixed to a test tank, and then the piston and the test tank could probably grow and shrink as it's filled with thermal cryo loads, and then that would allow the piston to move up and down. So, and then they can push and pull. So yeah, they have a lot of degrees of motion they can impart on it.
Yep, cool. Well, that's okay. That's one for the keep an eye on in the future type situations. How many are we up to now? Okay, the www.frame, whatever you want to call that. It hasn't been moved or changed. I can't remember now, Jake. Has this had another test through the week? It seems to have had so many tests. I'll keep losing count.
I think it's up to 20 tests now if we're counting if we're counting in when it had its previous Common Dome section as well.
Well, thank you. There's a nice shot of the 3 active tanks and the crane. So I don't think they're finished with this landing tank quite yet. And everything's still hooked up. Oh, there's a good shot. I don't think we've had such a good shot of that hydraulic ram and lever system before. That's a really good angle there. So this was to test the inside the ship flap actuator hardware, I'd say. I'm not sure about actuator, but definitely the hardware that mounts the actuator, so they can put a lot of flap type loading on that bell crank. It's probably a good word to use for that piece of steel. And then they can push and pull and put other sort of flight loads on it, as we've been over in previous episodes. Okay, so I guess the big thing at Massey's this week, obviously we probably should have started on it, is Booster 20. And if we have a quick look over on X here, we can see here's this Starship Gazer's published a really awesome photo of it under full cryo. And I saw somewhere in one of the chats, someone's did a picture of this compared to loading on launch day, and the thrust was only sort of up to here on launch day, so they don't necessarily fully fill the booster on launch day still.
Yeah, I think we've kind of determined that the maximum load for launch conditions is more like 98%. And then it looks like here they're definitely, it's hard to tell exactly where the frost line ends because technically over time it can creep above the fluid level, but yeah, the frost is definitely higher than it is during launch.
So that's its first cryo test, so maybe a second cryo test, and then maybe it goes back and gets its engines. So that'll be booster with engines soon. So it's its Flight 13 booster. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the launch site. Not a great deal extra through the centre of the site. They still haven't started installing any pumps.
Well, there is.
Oh, go on.
There is another little thing we've seen there this week, right next to B18.1. The chopstick simulators have made a return.
Oh, of course.
And the beams have made a return as well.
Thank you. Yes, so with probably, excuse me. So on that, this is the lower end of a ship, so I wouldn't be squeezing that part. And this also is a lower end of a booster, so maybe it's not going to squeeze that either. So what is it going to squeeze? This the next test tank that comes into here that has those horizontal rams as well is going to get a squeeze test as well, perhaps? Because like you're saying, Jake, about these beams there for when they put it over here on a tank, we saw that on a tank ages ago, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm sure those are the same beams where they put them on top of the test tank and then they suspend the chopstick simulators from them. That's what we saw the first time we saw the simulators used, so which is interesting. And yeah, I think it's going to be a new test tank they're going to use for that. I'm not sure it's going to be one of the existing ones at all.
Yeah, the thing with that is I don't think those would actually fit inside of the truss structure over here. I think they, to basically be on the outside of the tank and
Yeah.
have those straight areas, I don't think it would fit in there. So it'd probably have to be in one of these two freestanding, test stands. So yeah, it's likely either they're going to move, the tank over, because technically that is the forward part of a booster, that's in the current, over to the left. But I don't know if there would necessarily be the right part exposed, because I think they probably want to start catching around the common dome area and then kind of move up, to the grid fins. So yeah, I'm not sure that that's fully the right part of the vehicle they want to test, but it could be.
So yeah, that is a forward part of a booster. Sorry, yep, part of a ship. I mean, maybe this one you could squeeze underneath the grid fins here.
It hasn't got grid fins. Don't forget that's the booster after section test article. Those are the pistons that go through the test tank that you're seeing down there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I knew that. So yeah, they'd have to actually literally move this to use this one. They have to move it out of the cage. So maybe that's what happens. Okay, so I can chalk up two silly things I've said this so far in this stream. That's cool. We're underway. Okay, cool. Thanks, Jake. That's a big bit of a development. And because they're here, if they're going to be put over there, we expect them to be over there. That's what happened last time. They'll put over here. So looks like they are to be used over in this area for some reason. It must be fairly heavy. Okay, so back to B20. So maybe another cryo test. I think we've only really had B19's only the one that's really has been an example of what testing they do on version 3 boosters. And Jake, how many tests did Booster 19 go through cryo testing?
I think that was 3 cryo tests. I'll have to double check. But yeah, I'm sort of expecting it to be only 2 with B20 possibly.
So there's more than likely an ambient pressure test, I guess, first, then a cryo test. So it's probably 2 tests so far, technically, and maybe 1 more cryo test, and it should be right to go back to the factory.
Got a correction. It was 4 cryo tests for B19.
Thank you. So that included the first ambient pressure test.
No, that was not including the ambient test at all. But yeah, of course, that was the first V3 booster they managed to fully test. So I don't expect it to be quite as rigorous when it comes to B20.
Yeah.
I would imagine that they probably do a cryo test that's maybe static with just the liquid to make sure that things are okay, and then maybe they come back through and do one where the rams are actually simulating the thrust loads on the vehicle itself, so they can kind of isolate those 2 tests. That's what I would expect, at least. Maybe in the future they can narrow that down to maybe 1 test.
So I think I hear a lot saying that the first cryofill actually conditions the steel. So maybe what you're saying is very much correct there, Ryan. then the second test they can fill it up with cryogenics and actually start pushing on the steel once it's been properly conditioned. I'm guessing that's still a thing. That's what they do. Okay. So over here, nothing really changed on those two horizontal tanks. I think I was just brushed on. They haven't really done any plumbing or anything on these new, I'm guessing, LOX tanks. Oh, nitrogen tanks, I mean. I'm guessing nitrogen tanks. Not sure. It's been interesting to see this tank farm in another 6 months. I could only give you like 18 hours ahead of time being over here in Australia, as people keep telling me. So 5 more of these stairway landings for the flame trench structure. Some really nice straight downs, a booster 18, a booster 20.
Yeah, and talking about those stairs, it looks like they added another 2 flights to the rest of them earlier today.
Okay, yep. So there's 5 left, so it was hard to work out. So 1, 2, then 3, 4, then the 5th one on the very top. It was almost like they looked like there was too many landings, but I think once you look at this angle, you can see like there's 2 landings per level, sort of, basically. And then they can get rid of this scaff. So looking down from the top, that's a nice straight down shot. So we'll start with the over here. Makes it hard to see when these vertical shots, but it doesn't look like anything's happened up top here. It's just all the rams are still there ready to go. They haven't bothered to take the, the pistons, the old pulleys off yet. I guess that's a low priority.
I suppose it would be handy for them to be removed at some point because they're sort of sticking right out over that walkway.
I don't know what this dog is doing up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but he's being annoying. Okay, so here's a good shot. We saw these test frames last week on the ground, and we sort of guessed that this is the way, speculated this is what was going to happen with them, and with the outer legs being slightly different to the inner legs for these outer vacuum ram calibration frames. So this basically gives them something to push and pull against on the rams to calibrate all the hydraulics and perhaps calibrate some of the load cells and everything. Make sure everything's working as it should.
I'd imagine they probably are using flight data from the last flight to calibrate, maybe some of the minute motions that the pistons may do. That way they can, try and actually simulate a flight-like condition on the ground.
You just read my mind. I was wondering because I'd already used this frame, this test stand. Say that, thank you. You answered a question I was just about to ask. Thank you. Why are they doing it now? But that makes a lot of sense now. They've got some test data. That makes flight data. That makes a lot of sense.
Because you'd want to probably verify the piston is, doing what you tell it to do, on the ground before you even put it on this structure. But then also after the fact, if you have expected data that you're trying to replicate, you may run through the same exact thing with, telling the piston what to do and then reading its response to see if it's actually replicating what you want it to do.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. And I was also sort of curious why they do it here rather than just at Massey's, because as far as I know, it just needs electricity. It's got its own hydraulics. But I guess they need to tie it into the whole computer system, which is obviously would be plugged in here to the stand, which probably goes back to the building nearby here, and then perhaps back to the main computers, back to this building, then maybe back to the computers at the front, and then onto the computers further over to the mission control where they actually do the testing to make sure they're getting all that data and everything all the way back to the main computers back at the launch room, launch control room. The trench has got its scaffold removed, which is good to see. There goes a half an hour for masses easily. We can see a little bit of work has been done. Where's this? One of these side shots. We can see a little bit of the
That's good. I was
material.
about to say, yeah, I was about to say you can't see it very easily from that angle.
See some of the material they've added. So I know there's been lots of people saying, is it Fondag? Is it this? Is it that? We saw those orange buckets, which is one brand is Sika. And I mean, that company alone has, literally hundreds of products, and there's obviously more than one company that make products, so we really don't know what they did here. But the only thing I can think of, this area is probably an area of maybe greater sort of acoustic, a bit more energetic in this particular area, so they're finding something of an issue just here. And maybe, just maybe, they've filled in down here as well from the ground, but I can't verify that. But yeah, whatever they've done, they've finished, got rid of the scaffolding. So the next ship has its engines, so we're not sure what we're going to see next. We're going to see a cryo test next, or a static fire next, to be honest. There's two ships ready to do either one pretty well at the moment. So Indy, how you going, Indy? Go on, Jake.
I say, yeah, ship 41 should be getting fairly close to being ready to be cryo tested now. And then I think the ship 40 had its last three engines, what was it, 2 days ago now? I reckon that'll probably be 2 to 3 weeks of getting it ready for static fire testing. So they could possibly sneak ship 41 cryo testing in just before the static fire testing. Although I guess it all comes down to if they're just trying to prioritize 40 at the moment or not.
A bit of a vision of the future where we're going to have ships sort of coming in, cryo testing, static fire, cryo testing, static firing. Although we haven't got the next ship along, but I mean, like I said, in the near future, we're going to see quite the procession of ships, I imagine. Well, and boosters, but for this particular station, obviously, for ships. So drop over to Indy and say good day to Indy. Sorry, I forgot to mention at the start of the show, Indy's going to do questions and donations for us. How's chat going, Indy?
Chat's going well. We do have some donations and some questions, but the questions are more about the launch. But we'll start with the donations. We want to thank Cooper 2007 for their fuel fund donation of $10. Thank you so much. Woodworker Don celebrates 5 months of membership with RGV, and he says really great views. And Mort Vavnik donated gifted 5 memberships to people in the chat. Thank you so much for that. Do you want questions about the launch?
Are they related to things here?
No. They're related to Booster.
Well, okay, we've got Booster in front of us. Let's hear about the Booster questions.
Nate the Great's wondering, I know it's hard to tell, but what corrective measures do you think they will take for Booster after hot staging? A temporary fix like software or something more? And again, amazing images.
Might hand that one off to Ryan, please.
Yeah, so I guess kind of speculation time, but my personal opinion is that the issue with the staging direction was probably due to the ship ignition sequence not being exactly what they were expecting. Due to not having a blocked portion of the hot staging area to kind of act as um, a place to create drag and catch some of that engine thrust to push the booster over. They don't really have that deterministic behavior like they did during the previous 2 flights where they intentionally did that. So they're really expecting the ship to do a specific pattern to create that deterministic flip, and I think that led to the issue on the last flight. But as far as the failure during the boost back, I'm kind of getting a sense that it may have been related to a single Raptor engine that had a explosive issue, and they may have it in their flight computer capabilities to detect whether the engine is kind of a soft shutdown or a hard shutdown. And in the case of a soft shutdown, Example of that might have been what we saw on Ascent, where the single engine went out and then all the neighboring engines continued to fire. That may have been more of a softer shutdown, even though it looked a little explosive-y. But in the case of what happened during boost back, that looked a little bit more energetic, and I'm wondering if that caused the neighboring engines to shut down out of safety, since there isn't any shielding around the engine power heads to protect them. It's possible that shrapnel could affect the nearby engines, and I think it just happened to be one of the engines, in the middle that had that happen, that ended up taking out, all of the engines nearby just out of safety. And they're probably being extra conservative, during the last flight too, so they could try and get some of the data. Because as we saw, it did end up going further down range, and even though it didn't go to the right spot, when it entered back through the atmosphere, they were able to get data on kind of the aerodynamics in the guidance and navigation with the different grid fin configurations. So I think they probably wanted to be a little conservative just so they could get those extra data points in that data set.
It was travelling somewhat faster than normal, though, wasn't it, when the grid fin started to take effect? Although they still would have got good data. Okay, thanks, Ryan. Thank you, Indy.
Got one more for you about where we're at. James Powers is wondering, could they possibly build a V3 ship static fire stand?
They have.
Do you mean like V3 is in the ship version, or a version 3 of a test stand? Like, what? Yeah, I'm trying to fully understand exactly what they're asking there.
So version 3, well, ship 39 was tested here as a version 3 ship, static fire here. I don't quite understand the question, sorry, because they do actually have that here right now. Maybe talking version 4, but that's too far in the future to even speculate right now. So I'm not sure about that question. I appreciate them asking. Maybe they can get back to you about that.
So James says the actual pad. A new ship static fire pad.
Well, there is some expansion going to be happening at Massey's. So we're talking about that. I think you were talking about that where at the show and tell, Ryan, how they may separate things a little bit here at Massey's in the future.
Yeah, I mean, for the longest time, we kind of suspected that if they got access to more land, that triangle there up on the island could, potentially become another static fire trench for a ship. But seeing, some of the failures that we've observed over the past, year or so, it seems a little unlikely to kind of, put all of the eggs in one basket, so to speak. So I have a feeling that if they get access to more land, that they'd more than likely want to space out their infrastructure a little bit in case we were to have another like Ship 36 event where the pretty much the whole site is out of commission for quite a while due to an event like that. So if they are able to kind of replicate another area where they can static fire the ships at, in the event that something like that does happen, instead of having two pads, they would still have one. So it would slow down the throughput of testing and launches potentially, but they would still have the ability to do so. So I think it does seem like they are going to get access to more land. So I would expect to see, another area probably nearby, but not, within the same footprint of the kind of this island area here.
They go on to say this one is a bit breaky. Like maybe they're saying the actual flame trench is a little bit fragile for moving forward with larger thrusts and perhaps even the nine-engine variant. But I know personally, I think this is standing up better than it may appear. It looks a little bit rough, but I think it's going okay.
I have a feeling if they do build a new area for testing the ships, that they would probably build it from the beginning to be able to support kind of a version 4, and they would also do an evolution of the trench design itself. I think it might end up looking a little bit more similar to the orbital launch site, with how they've kind of armored the walls a little bit more, because this was still an experiment. This was the first Starship flame trench that they had ever built. Now, granted, they have had some experience from working at McGregor, but the geology is completely different here. So I think this was again a little bit of an experiment. They'll use it until they deem that they can't, but I think by that time they'll already have probably another stand built.
Yeah, steel walls. Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Indy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on to Sanchez then. Okay, Sanchez. So I guess the big thing, it will start over at the building of the OLM. Now, I haven't got these photos in order, unfortunately. Just bear with me here a little bit. So, my mouse isn't working. Here we go. I'll start on that edge because another piece has arrived. I'll try and get a closer photo, but another piece has arrived this week, which is the bottom brackets for the flame bucket. This area here looks nicely opened up for them to build the actual flame bucket in here in the coming weeks. We see plenty of ridge cap pieces here and over here. We've got these are all upside down, so this is the bottom of the water vessel that is the ridge cap. So this is upside down. Then I'll put, obviously, if we go back and remember, then they put these on top of that, and then put these upside down back up on top to create the actual flame trench. To create the actual ridge, water-filled ridge.
I know I'm pretty excited to see if they maybe changed the hole pattern on the apex area, because we identified a couple areas where they needed to make some modifications to pad 2s. So I'm really intrigued if we can get some photos eventually that show the hole pattern on that apex kind of metal. That would be really interesting to see.
Because they've already changed that, haven't they, on the actual launch site already up there? They've re-drilled some holes from after launch.
And when we get there, we'll see they may need to make more holes, but yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to see them from up here. If there's maybe a hint of a grid of holes, but yeah, they're pretty hard to see.
Maybe there, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing. Yeah, this week we've got the higher TFR in place again, so we can't get quite as close to be able to see that detail that we saw last week with the pancake sections for the next launch mount.
I can still see these here. I'm not sure. Is it possible they haven't actually drilled them yet?
I feel like they probably would do that before, because it would be a lot more difficult to do all of those holes after the metal is bent like that. But it's possible. But yeah, we might need some ground shots to be able to see it.
Cool. So we're still waiting for that third piece, and this third piece, wow, that's a good shot. And obviously the corner pieces, they still haven't finished this actual platform here yet. So still a bit to go. So the pieces are arriving quicker than they're getting assembled. Sort of seems like the pieces are arriving in a peculiar order, but it doesn't matter. They'll have these corner pieces soon, I imagine, and we'll start seeing things getting welded together. Haven't amassed all the welders or anything yet either, and is that not square, isn't it?
I suppose.
Square? No, it is square. Sorry, Jake.
I suppose that's kind of a nice thing. But when they actually go to start assembling the OLM, they're going to have pretty much most of the parts just sitting there ready to go straight away, rather than having to wait around for things.
True. So we've got an OLM. We've got wall. We'll see that at the launch site. So a lot of the heavy duty steel work is arriving for the pad 1 in all its different areas of construction, so that should be good. Okay, moving over to here. This weird, whatever you want to call it, platform. Now I know there's a better shot of it here. Is still a mystery. So it's not 9 meters in diameter, so maybe something to do with a ship nose cone. It has got, well, kind of weird little tiny steps to get up onto this platform. It's not making a lot of sense. It's almost like, look, they've even got, is that a step down here? It's like it's going to be lower to the ground or something when it's in its final rest. It kind of looks like it might be elevated. It might be able to go up and down. It's a bit hard to tell for now.
That's solid. No. This, as I say, those are solid in those 3 areas. I think that's where they're going to attach probably lifting eyes of some kind to be able to lift this whole structure onto something.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You can see how they've been welding it from behind. And they're constructing another one.
It almost looks like they removed pieces from it, kind of where your cursor is. It looks a little bit like maybe they've removed. If you go to the other one that they're building now, I think it has a different pattern, doesn't it? Like there's some cross bracing that they removed, or I guess we can kind of.
It does look like it, yeah. Never
hang
mind.
on.
No, there is 2 big openings.
Yeah, but the pattern is a little different. Like right to the left of the blue umbrella, there's it goes up at an angle versus being straight like the other pieces do. So there's some different shape going on, which kind of matches now what we're seeing on the other one. So we can tell where stuff is at, but it almost kind of looks like they almost changed the design because doesn't that look like there's kind of weld marks, about on that beam, Stephanie, kind of straight up from your cursor? Like, right, yeah, a little bit, yeah, right there. It kind of looks like there's pieces that they maybe were welding on and then stopped.
Well, isn't that just this hole here and that hole there? We can see this beam over here. We can see the weld marks there. I'm not sure, Ryan. I don't know that I agree with you yet. So it's that beam and this beam to make that hole, which we can see over here.
It matches what we're seeing now over here. I'm just wondering it because it doesn't look like the weld, there's any cleaned surfaces, right where your cursor is on this one, but on the other one it does. So it almost seems like they were maybe starting to do something and then changed. Like right there, the corner.
I can see that for sure, yep. Yeah, strange little shape, strange little cutouts, and strange little size as well. So maybe we'll get a photo of this from inside the factory. Like, I'm like 90% sure, or speculatively sure, that is going to be part of some kind of work stand in the factory. Sort of in this area. Not sure why the transport stand adapters are here, but anyway, maybe that's to keep the area over there at Rocket Garden clear. Oh, because they're digging up all the concrete over there. That's what's going on there. Over here to get out of the way. We are missing 2 ship transport stands and 1 booster transport stand from Sanchez. Now, I know there's only supposed to have been 1 ship transport stand and 1 booster stand move over to the port and get on the barge. And now, got an update?
Well, yeah, there's no sense. Yeah, on the port schedule, it said just ring walls. Obviously, it never really said an actual quantity on there. But yeah, I don't think anyone managed to catch the second ship transport stand moving. We don't, because I've looked in Mega Bay 2. There's not in there. It doesn't seem to be at the near the lots near Marcy's at all. So yeah, we don't know exactly when that second ship transport stand actually moved to the port. No one seemed to catch it.
I snuck it by us. So yeah, that's this booster transport stand. Yeah, there was 2 ship transport stands here last week. So there are 4 all up with the ship transport stands, and only 2 here now at Sanchez. So just before I go too far over there, because rabbit holes. So Sanchez has been reasonably quiet. The cladding crews still haven't restarted any cladding, so they're still waiting for some work over Gigabay to finish so they can continue on. There's no change to the
There's,
go on.
I suppose there's another tiny little update as well. There's the clamps for the third booster transport stand being modified. They're sitting on the ground next to the stand now, waiting to be installed.
There's some here, I think, and some on the other side. So it's due to get its clamps soon. It's actually any mounted yet? No, none mounted yet. Still got its little bit of chine cover there, which is hilarious. So it'll have its clamps. Oh, there's some clamps here now, some clamps over here as well. So that's the not really changing design. Yeah.
Oh, and there was that ring section sitting near the ground fab building. That's gone walkabout as well by the looks of it. The one that was next to those racks, just below the building. To the left, but that was sat there last week. To the left a bit more. So that rack to the left of your cursor, it was sitting in front of that milled section that we saw.
Oh, yeah. I remember now. Yep.
Oh, also, I spotted something very interesting there. That, I think, is the hydraulic fluid reservoir for the Pad 1 superstructure.
Oh, yeah.
Recognise it now?
Yep. We see it from this space, don't we, with the 2
Goes on
pipes
the top level.
Yeah.
No, we see it from the slope side.
We see it from this side. Okay,
Yeah.
And there's a gas generator sitting over here too. So that's not what SpaceX calls them. I forget what they call them. Burners, was it? Okay, so that's that end. Just thanks, Jake, for those little updates. Otherwise, I just brush over them accidentally. Okay, let's move along a bit in Sanchez. There's that frame. So there's some speculation on that frame. It could be for Gigabay. It could be to convert. Have we got a picture of it in this folder? Let me see. I'll go over to the build site photos. One speculation is, whereas this lifting frame here can only lift a full booster, it has 2 bridge cranes attached to it. One speculation is this can, once it's in the Gigabay, you can use this to lift one bridge crane to lift that with its two lifting points. So you only need one bridge crane to operate this booster lifting frame. But that's only one speculation and could be completely wrong. There's some kind of pivot here for it as well. That's just one speculation that came up in show and tell the other day. Now, this area, so heaps of concrete getting removed from in here. So there's something, they're just finally getting rid of old concrete, or there's going to be some kind of structure in here. There are some electrical getting run nearby, which may be just coincidental. But yeah, lots of concrete getting removed, all except for the old, remember engine installation stand back when ship was having its engines installed outside before Mega Bay 2 was built.
Yeah, that was
Hello.
certainly an interesting structure.
Yeah, yeah, little intermittent little workaround for them. Yeah. Now over here we've got these little devices we spent a long time talking about the other day. Everywhere from, which I don't think, the grid fin testing frame over yonder. But I think one of the things we thought maybe likely would be, with one of the speculations is that when they break over a booster, they could use the grid fin sockets, which means they would need something like this to insert into the grid fin sockets, and they look to be about the right size. And also on the end here would allow a strap here to be attached, and that centre section perhaps could rotate freely and allow the strap not to rub on the circle. So maybe that's something to do with the breakover. I think, Ryan, we had a good old discussion about that on Show and Tell.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been kind of the main idea is that they would probably use the grid fins since they're structurally strong throughout the forward end of the booster. It doesn't make sense to grab onto anything else. It's not meant for that. So grid fins always seemed like the obvious choice, but how exactly they would go about doing that was maybe a mystery. And this certainly seems like a strong implication that they would probably put these, since there's two of them, you can imagine they'd go on the pitch grid fins only, but they would install those probably temporarily, and that would allow them to kind of move the booster horizontally while it doesn't have grid fins on it. So that's it's maybe been speculation whether or not the boosters would have grid fins and engines when they're transported horizontally, but I think this is a pretty strong indication that they probably won't have grid fins when they put them horizontally.
Yeah, and perhaps this white bit is like a counterbalance for actually just to install them, gives them like a lifting point and gives them a counterbalance so they can hold this end up as they put it into the socket in there.
So they're probably here because they're going to try and either they have or they will test fit them on this forward section here to make sure they work before they actually try and use them for real.
Yep, that makes sense. Over here we've got a couple of more clamps installed over here, and their cocky beaks have been installed on these slides. So I don't know, there was speculation this could be used for a ship as well, but I'm more and more convinced this is going to be dedicated for a booster. There may be an adapter for a ship, I guess, like we saw that adapter for the ship 37 and 38 being static pied at the launch site. Maybe some kind of adapter for a ship, but I'm not sure. I haven't really seen much to do with ship. Like, I don't even know they could use this on a ship, especially if it's tiled. So, not sure about ship yet. We seem to have things mostly figured out for the booster, but yeah, ship is still a bit of a mystery.
And there was some more additions with the cradle on the right there. BJ spotted last night, and we got the caster wheels on on the legs now.
Yep. So caster wheels down there, yep. So it's still actually sitting on stands, like pipe stands as well, but it can freestand, and then a booster can be put in, and we still believe, we actually saw the writing on this as breakover as well. Right, yeah. This frame down here. So we're pretty sure this is the breakover pivot. Says somehow that horseshoe will sit up here for and horizontal on top of this, and the booster can be moved in. And again, Ryan, it's iffy whether they're going to have even engines installed or not. So maybe a bare bones booster transport, which I don't know, makes more sense to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were, maybe trying to consider the fact that Florida's Giga Bay may or may not be able to support certain operations If booster is maybe a little bit more reasonable to assume that it wouldn't have engines on it, just because they would have the capability of static firing it there at the Cape after transporting it. So they could do all of their engine installs there, go out, static fire, it'd be fine. Ship I think is maybe more questionable since they don't really have a place to static fire them currently at the Cape. That they may have to have engines on the ship when they go to transport them after being static fired. But yeah, I'm really intrigued to see the order of operations that they might do with the breakover structure. And unfortunately, we might not actually be able to see it, given Gigabay's construction. We might be blocked for views by the time that happens. But hopefully, SpaceX gives us a glimpse into how that process works.
Yeah, we get lucky every now and again and get a bit of a view. What's going on over here? I don't know. I
Good
recognise
question.
them. Are they being scrapped? Is this part of factory iteration? Is this something to do with that machine part they're replacing? We saw last week that machine part. These are the old parts, maybe. So that's total speculation. Not sure about that. All different parts, more parts for stuff over here. So all this, I wonder if this is... Do we recognise them as anything in particular? I wonder if this is to do with something going on here once they clear this and build something here. It almost looks like some kind of... another kind of stand or something. There's a couple of those pieces, so I'm just going off on speculation here.
Those definitely look like they're meant to tie in and triangulate some structure.
Yeah, and there's even sort of triangle curves here too. Ooh. There's a sort of curves here too.
I wonder if this will make use of the pad that they haven't started breaking the concrete on at the moment.
Yeah, that's my first thought. Yeah. And I wonder if they're going to continue with this concrete out here as well, break all this up. Although that's new, that bit of concrete, although that doesn't mean anything, does it?
Nope.
Concrete's very temporary around here. This PES dispenser seems to have... well, they seem to have work crew here, and they've got welders and that out to it. Boy, there's some long leads to generate as well. So they're not stopped, but they do seem to have slowed right down. And there's some panels for it here, and maybe they're waiting for some design. I know, like SpaceX. Sometimes I feel SpaceX start building things before the design is finalised. In fact, I know that happens quite a lot around Starbase. Okay. What else is around Rocket Garden? Except for two missing ship transport stands and a booster transport stand. There was over here. They've got the work platform lowered on the static fire stand for some reason. Not really sure why. They're just having a bit of a joyride over here, I guess. But yeah, they've got that lowered down. Got the there's some ladders there. Not sure why they've done that. There's no real equipment around it, except for this little electrical lead in here. So, questions for Sanchez there, Indy?
No questions for Sanchez, but we got lots of donations and a gifted membership. We want to thank Perpetual Nerd for their $5 donation, and they said, chip in if you can. Aviation gas is expensive. Sharpie came in with another $5 and says, chipping in. Same with Martin, who donated 20 pounds and says, chipping in. Drew Nar put in $5 Canadian, said, putting in for Birdie. And then Jacques donated one gifted membership, and she was able to hit one of our favorites, Volcano Girl. Thank you all so much for your donations and gifted memberships.
Oh, cool. So haven't hit Vix yet.
Vixie's good though. She has a Patreon subscription.
Oh, cool. Now, build site. 1 second. Oh, here it is. Already started. Okay, Gigabay. We'll start over this side. So they've got their lovely, pretty white cladding down the bottom here, installed along this side at least. And while we're in here, they've been continuing with the concreting on all the levels. So they can see, I think this is level 8. Oh, I think BJ was saying. They almost finished this level, and then they're starting to get the next levels ready. So lots of concreting going on. And this picture, they've got all the centre, level 6 centre, and most of level 6 edges are completed. And a big thing this week is they're starting to put the beams that carry the bridge crane rails. So on top of this, they put a piece of railway line on top of here for the bridge cranes to run along. So that's the height of the main bridge cranes for the aisles. So that's pretty exciting to see. Now, what's going on over here?
There is some renders in Patreon lounge from Greg. I'm not sure if he is fine with them being shown on the screen, but they show the current progress of the Starbase Gigabay versus the Roberts Road Gigabay.
Yeah, I messaged you those stuff.
Yeah, I haven't downloaded them yet. So this is Roberts Road. Okay, so this is that level red, and this is that level green. So we go over here. This is that level red here. I'm guessing this is Starbase. The level red for Starbase. And then this is, so that's a level we're up to at Starbase, which is the 6th level of full columns. And then we've got level 7, which includes the trusses for the roof, I believe, Jake, yeah?
Yeah.
That'll
Yeah,
do
and
for
then
that.
there's that bit of a little bit of a wall around the top, the very top as well, just slightly above the actual roof for level 7.
Yep, and then possibly a penthouse on top of all that again.
No, that's the full thing. That is level 7, that's it.
So I thank Greg TW for that little bit of imagery. Oh, cool. Level 7, and that's it. Cool. All right. So looking from a different angle, I think that's about. So they're doing some. Down here we can see they're starting to line the elevator shafts with, I think, PJ was saying some kind of fiberglass coated paneling, gyprock. And they've been working on the staircase, this scaffolding here, this framework above. They're being able to lift this whole scaffolding tower up through the shaft, up through this elevator shaft, as they're doing some of the fit-off work. So Gigabay's been Gigabay and continuing forward. Now the big dollar shots for this week would be, voila, Booster 21. Booster 21's LOX tank is complete all the way from Common Dome. We can see the fuel transfer tube down there, or downcomer. We'll come back to this in a sec. We can see where the autogen pipework goes, which is actually sitting on the ground down here, getting ready to be lifted by the crane. We're joking that the hook block probably weighs more than the pipe here, so I think the crane's up for the task of lifting that pipe. And we can see sitting on the landing tank jig, we can actually see the bottom of the landing tank down here. So you were saying, Jake, the aft section just moved in?
Yeah, that should, I think, be sitting on the left side turntable now. So the next thing for Booster 21 would be to lift that whole LOX tank over onto the aft section. And then they can start getting on with the methane tank, which is just consists of 3 sections: the forward dome section, the F2, and the F3, I think is the names of those. and then it'll be time for fully stacking the booster. So I'd say there's probably a good chance we could have a fully stacked booster 21 by the end of the month.
This turntable is obviously free because booster 20 is over at Massey's. So some really nice shots in here. We can see these work platforms that go around the outer engines for a booster. How they get folded up when they're not in use, and you can access them through here. I think there's a better photo of than that. So I didn't actually realise those platforms existed, but there they are. So they can walk on these platforms once the booster is in here with engines on.
Yeah, see, I might be misremembering, but I think they've had those platforms there though in the stands the whole time. But I think they used to be a slightly different shape. I think they didn't used to hug around the engines quite so much. So I might be misremembering. It might have been the same shape the whole time.
The good old misremember. I have that happen to me way too many times. Yeah, so good progress on booster assembly line, I guess. I can see potential for a lot more happening a lot quicker in time. They still seem to be very much, they barely got into second gear, to be honest, with the booster and ship production. Like there's all those stands free, and of course, I mean, Gigabay, my goodness, can you imagine what's going to happen once this is ready and they can have, serious amount of ships and boosters in various stages of production.
Go back to the previous photo, Stephanie. There's the other little interesting thing we could talk about with Booster 21, because I know people have been asking about it again. The reinforcement for the LOX landing tank. You can see very well here how it lines up with the LOX landing tank. The slightly further up. The thing that people think is a sealed payload bay door.
Oh, yeah. We saw that in our ground photos not long ago too, with that booster 18.3s. Yeah. So
But
that's
yeah, I
the
mean
top.
we've seen the inside in B18 how it lines up with the LOX landing tank. But yeah, with this booster 21 not having this aft section, you can see externally how it lines up there. It's quite a cool little shot.
Thanks. Yep. So this is like an inside rib, so to speak, inside, and from that they put we saw those great big rods, those great big what do you call them? Linkages that keep the top of the tank stabilised. There's two long ones and two short ones to keep the top of the tank stabilised, and then at the bottom it's we saw that at Massey's how there's also struts at the bottom holding the tank up vertically. So I'm not sure what holds it horizontally at the bottom yet, because those struts are only vertical. But anyway, I'm sure there's something down in there that I'm not aware of. A little gap in here to let the landing tank in. So this is, it's in the past they used to use, didn't they, Jake? They used to just use a stand here to in version 2 just to bring the LOX tank over, because they had to swap bridge cranes halfway, which they still have to, don't they? Swap bridge cranes.
Yeah. Yeah, it used to be a much more simple stand that they used for moving the LOX tank from one side of the bay to the other. But now they use the LOX landing tank install stand doubles up as a stand to be able to move the LOX tank over to the other side of the bay with the V3 boosters.
And with that, you wouldn't think there was just enough room. So with that LOX tank over there's enough room here to bring the aft section in and sit on that turntable with that LOX tank still sitting in the middle of the bay. But just looking at that and looking at Gigabay, my goodness, the potential for, wow, they're going to be able to build so many vehicles so quickly once that's up and running. Plus Florida building just as many again. Far out. I can see them reaching some of their goals they like to mention. I think some of their goals are a little bit pie in the sky still, but I think generally on their way to reaching them, though.
I mean, yeah, it'll probably take many gigabays and factories to be able to reach the ultimate goals that they want to reach eventually.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to say. Yeah. Oh, we've got a shot down here. They've still got that frame in there. Cool. So it looks like they've maybe poured their concrete footing. So they should be able to pull that frame out soon. Okay, Mega Bay 2. So we're I said we'd wait till we got to here to discuss ships. We kind of discussed them over there. So we've got 2 ships, one with engines and one about ready to cryo test. So ship 40 sitting over on the back left, I guess.
Yeah, that's usually how they do it. The flow of it is they start the ship on the turntable, move it over to the middle work stand to install flaps in the raceways. Then they send it up for cryo testing, bring it back, put it on the back left stand where I think they get the raceway covers installed there along with the engines, plus all the any shielding bits, and then that then goes out for stack fire testing, and then when the ship comes back, it usually goes on the front left stand for remaining work ahead of flight.
Yep, so ship 41's almost ready for cryo test, and yeah, ship 40's almost ready for static fire. So booster 40, booster 20, sorry, and ship 40 next, 420. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
40, 20, whatever. Cool. Okay, go on.
And if anyone's wondering how things are going with the next ship to be stacked, ship 42, obviously the answer to life. The North Cone of that is still due to be stacked on the Payload Bay in Star Factory. The North Cone was moved recently to another stand, but it's what they seem to do in there is they move it to some sort of staging stand. We haven't actually seen what it sits on, but they do that right before they go and lift it onto the Payload Bay. So it could be quite soon that we finally see the start of stacking of Ship 42, and then it'll probably be about 2-3 weeks until it'll actually move to Mega Bay 2 to start to resume stacking in there.
Are they able to get it out right now with the construction that's going on along the side of the factory?
Yeah, they don't forget they rolled out the ship LOX land but B-21 LOX landing tank through there the other day as well into the Mega Bay 1.
Yeah, I think that laneway is fairly clear. I don't know, they've got a forward shot of it, but yeah, they tend to be keeping that laneway clear. I mean, they just got to go through this fence, I guess.
Because of course, yeah, for a little while they were rolling the booster LOX landing tanks out on Highway 4 and down Remedios round to Mega Bay 1. But yeah, they seem to be going down the side of Giga Bay now.
Oh, okay, going all the way around. Okay, so that's okay. That's worst case scenario. They can come out around the front anyway. So yep. It's a bit of a roundabout way of getting there, but I mean, still gets the job done. Okay, we're moving on. Around the back, I'm not sure there's much to report on around the back this week. I didn't actually look at this through show and tell. I didn't have all the images. We've got all the images now. So they were doing some work over here. They had all these trailers pulled forward. They've been put back again. Oh, that's right, they're painting that deck. It's all been painted. Oh, what's under the tarp? A couple more trailers sitting there without prime movers. Oh, so in Australia we call that a prime mover. You guys call them a tractor. A tractor's what pulls a plough in a paddock in Australia. Anywho. The apartment building, that's just working as expected. Probably doing all final fit outs. Probably fitting out rooms and finishing up a few mechanical services. They're doing some gardening and landscaping along the front here, installing trees. So maybe these aren't places for parking cars. They still could be, though, in between trees. I don't know. And here. And, of course, Star Park is looking good. They haven't poured the concrete top yet, but last week we... Hey, is that a wall? What's that?
Yep,
Is that
that's a wall.
That
And it looks
looks
like it
like
actually
it.
follows the beams that we saw before.
Underneath, yep.
I wonder if they're gonna place something on top of this, and then they're gonna have like people walk up behind that little wall there, maybe. Yeah.
It is in line here with that, yeah. We didn't have this photo yesterday.
Actually, never mind. No, they wouldn't walk up the back because there isn't signs of stairs going up along the back there, is there?
No, they're on the
That
front
we've
side.
seen.
Well, there's these and these.
Interesting.
These could be stairs too. We thought maybe ramps in here, but that doesn't seem to be the case either.
To me, it almost seems like there's supposed to be like access. Like this is just like a back little hallway to like get into the building, maybe like to the ground level. But I guess I'm not sure why they would necessarily have that kind of little hallway at the bottom when they have the door on the backside. But yeah,
So that main beam was more like here. So that if that's a wall, that's kind of like cantilevered off the front a little bit. But I'm sure it's well and truly structurally engineered. So some
Oh,
kind
that. Do you remember how they were doubling up beams on the back there? That's why.
There's that shape too, isn't it? Actually,
Yeah, that's why there's the double beams up there because they're putting a bit of a wall on top of it.
yeah, it looks like the wall actually thickens. Like it's thin on the edge, and then it actually gets thicker. Because
yeah,
it looks
through
like it
here.
continues straight across, but then yeah, the front part looks like it has a jump out.
But we see that in the beams underneath too. The steel beams under here had that weird. They came along and then had that weird shape to them as well underneath here. The beams we saw that last week, and we're speculating what it was all about. And now they've got these starter bars exactly over the top of them. So there's also starter bar. You can't quite see them, but sticking up through the floor. There's starter bars from the beams underneath. Now I'm wondering. So that other beam was through here with the starter bars. It wasn't the main beam. It wasn't. Hang on, I have to have a look last week quickly. Hang on. Just hang on a sec. Let me see quickly. Where are we? Okay, yeah, it was sitting back a little tiny bit, that wall. Now this. Okay, so
It
that's
doesn't
not
follow
quite
exactly. It's a little different, but it's doing the same purpose.
yeah. So we saw all these little starter bars popping up to tie in with that rebar. So it kind of gave us an idea last week that they were going to pour concrete. And there we have it. Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's going to be like an actual building up here, another room. Or yeah, this. So it seems to be that height is this height. So this particular wall is going to continue through there. And it looks like across the front too, that wall is going to continue across the front here. And then I guess the sides here as well. So somehow it's a swimming pool. Breakover, that's what it is.
Yeah, I think the top part there is just going to be a deck and potentially even a spectator viewing location for launches. It's a little close, but it seems, I can't think of another reason why you would have an elevated pad here unless it was really for, viewing the launches. But yeah, I'm still a little confused by the way that the walls are set up and kind of partitioning various areas. That's kind of the big question still.
That would have made show and tell go for another hour yesterday. All right, very good. Okay, cool. That's good. Still got these two areas out here, which I'm still going to say is going to be a ship and a booster on display. Just as a guess. It's my guess. Over yonder, we've got a new slab. So it's not tiny homes like Matt's been suggesting that Matt's been suggesting it's not for mini homes for a little while, and it's actually going to be some kind of building. So it looks like you're correct there,
Uh,
Matt.
It looks like there's going to be another 2 pads there as well, possibly. Yeah.
Yep. Little planter boxes here, which I was wondering how on earth you knew that, but there's some of these planter boxes over here. So not sure it's part of rec or part of a new supermarket or just general infrastructure.
Basically, just more things to make it a bit more enticing for people to want to live here, essentially.
Yeah, a lot of people live here these days, eh? Quite the bustling little large town. It's almost city. Not quite though.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's the if SpaceX wants to keep increasing the size of the workforce to be able to keep increasing production and the launch rate, then yeah, they got to build a lot around here to be able to entice even more people in to want to live there and work there.
Yeah, imagine the amount of people working in mega bays. Once Gigabay is up and running, you're going to need 3, 4, 5 times, even 6 times the amount of people working in here to start with. And then I'm sure the factory's nowhere near up to speed yet. So once they get all these production lines running through, they'll need to employ a lot more people in here as well. And of course, once you add more people, you need to add more people in the office, and then you need more engineers. So yeah, I can see a big increase in staff over the next few years. Okay, Indy, questions for Build Site, please.
I do, and I'll start with the donations. We want to thank Ian McCabe for their £5 donation, and they said for airplane food. Yazada for his $5 donation. Daniel Hogbin for his $10 donation, and he says if aviation gas is anything like gas prices, every little bit should help. Thank you, RGV team. And then $5 donation from Space Watcher, who says a little help from the retired old man. Thanks for all your team does. And then I have some questions for you guys. First one is from Schizo Quark. He's wondering, will SpaceX have to bring a roller crane to finish off the final roof level of Gigabay, or how will they go about that?
That's a good question.
What was the question again? Sorry.
Once they get all this steel up and they need to finish actual roof off, these cranes might be limited to do the actual last little finish off, the last little finish off section on the very top.
Yeah, they just bring in the external crawler crane that'll do the last bit of work, similar to what we see over at Roberts Road, and the one that have been using to disassemble the tower cranes as well.
Oh, cool. So Roberts Road is giving you the answer there. Thanks, Jake. Perfect.
Yeah,
So,
I think
yes.
I think they've been using the tower cranes to lift some of the roof trusses into place, but yeah, the very last little bits will have to be done, yeah, by external crawler crane.
Thank you.
Kiwi Lamb is wondering, will bridge cranes span the entire width of each Gigabay aisle? What's the width of the aisles? Those bridge cranes are going to be huge.
Yes. Yep. So this one here, bridges all the way over to here, and there'll be at least 2, and I think they're 400 tons each to span that. Yes, they're going to be very big bridge cranes. And then again on this aisle, 2 more. And then there's going to be 6. Oh, go on.
I'm going to say the bridge cranes they're going to use should be capable of lifting 400 tons each.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, 400 tons each.
Yeah, I can't remember what the width is there. I can't remember the figure.
And then in these bays in here, there's also... I'm on the right side. Where am I? Yeah, I'm on the right side. Over here in these bays over here, there's going to be another set of bridge cranes in each one of these little bays in here. There's going to be a little bridge crane that spans across this way. So there'll be bridge rails here and here. So there'll be 6 of them. Only for this side of the Gigabay, where the turntables are. these workstations don't need their individual. They don't need individual, and they don't have individual bridge cranes. So yeah, probably four big 400-ton bridge cranes for the two aisles, and then yeah, maybe 150-ton odd ones for these through here perhaps would do. Probably the heaviest they ever need to lift is probably just a tank, like a methane tank or a LOX tank. They probably don't even need to lift a fully stacked booster, because once the booster's fully stacked, they could use the aisle crane to get it from this station over to here or whatever.
Well, I mean, it would be nice if SpaceX managed to figure out how to be able to stack each booster on one turntable only. Because obviously at the moment they have to stack. Let's use two turntables to stack one booster. But yeah, if they can figure out how to do it with one turntable, that'd be a heck of a lot more efficient and obviously help the production route.
Yeah, I was gonna say to add with that, Jake. Yeah, if you can go back to that previous photo, Stephanie, I think it probably will highlight what I'm about to say a little easier. But it seems like with the way that they build the boosters right now, they have to kind of build the methane tank and the LOX tank separately, and then they're able to combine them later. So at least right now, I think at least my theory is that one of these cells would be strictly for kind of booster LOX tank construction. The next cell would be for just the methane tank construction, and then they could technically have another, two, slots for those as well. But then they would build those individual tank sections. When the LOX tank is done, it would basically go across the hall to the other station. They'd be able to, lock that down with the aft of the booster, then stack the methane tank on top of it over there, weld it together, and then at that point they would continue outfitting, and so it would probably become a full booster across the hall would be my guess, and then whether they choose to have two cells for booster or however they're going to do that, it does kind of feel like maybe there will be two cells for booster, well, technically four cells total for booster, and then maybe two for ship. But yeah, they kind of have to break that up somehow. But that's kind of how I see that going for right now.
So they could put because on this turntable they get everything ready for cryo testing, so they could put a turntable over one of these cells as well to finish the full stack, and then out the door for cryo, and then back in the door for engine install in the other aisle even. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how the booster and ship movements work through that bay, but I like your idea there, Brian, for sure. Okay, thanks, Indy.
Wrangler's wondering, is the suspected slowdown of the building of B-21 maybe for possible issues with B-19's flight issues? Possible fuel flushing and engine explosion?
Hey, maybe.
I wouldn't say there's really been a slowdown of Booster 21, considering it's under what Booster 20 was by a decent margin. If anything, I think it's tracking like, what is that, like 12 days behind what Booster 19 was stacked at least for the stacking rate. So I mean, it's not as quick as Booster 19, which they really cranked out Booster 19 because of what happened with Booster 18. So they're definitely going quicker with 21 than they did with 20.
All right. And then Wrangler's also wondering, is the Star Park big platform some sort of stage?
So Ryan, just going back, I think this shows what you're talking about actually, I think. So Booster 20, Booster 21. So Booster 20 took that many days, now Booster 20's at this stage, so it's quite a lot further ahead.
And yeah, that'll be Greg again. That's been creating these graphs, and he does them for ships as well. It's very useful resources.
The ships have been pretty consistent on their construction time, but yeah, boosters have varied a little bit just with I think the complexity, and then as well as the Booster 18 issue. So, but yeah, they're pretty cool graphs.
How do they keep birds out of the bay? They probably don't. It's wonder we don't see a bit of bird poop on them every now and again. This was something we noticed too in this photo. The new removable platforms they're just putting into the top of the the stringers here instead of having. Remember, the other boosters had a special set of welded tabs for this to happen, but nowadays they just use the stringers. I'm not sure how they keep. I mean, the doors are mostly closed. Maybe they have anti-bird things in there. I don't know. How do you keep birds out of most large buildings?
Well, some birds. I was going to say some birds are just so determined. No matter what you do, they'll just keep going in.
Plus, I would
Thank
think the
you, Nick.
noise was a deterrent.
It
No
may
problem.
be. Thank
And then Wrangler's also wondering, is the Star Park big platform some sort of stage?
I mean, it could be used as a stage, but that's probably not going to be its primary use.
Elon does love a stage, doesn't he?
I'm guessing that they want to have amenities maybe below it, and this allows them to add an elevated platform on top of that, since they would have to do a roof anyway, just add some stairs to go up to it, and they may put some pieces up here. I don't know. I guess the first thing that kind of comes to mind would be like the grid fin from, I think, was it Booster 4 that they've got over by the little green area. They could pull that over and maybe put that up there, but I think the vehicles would probably be in front of this platform. Where they end up, they could relocate that somewhere that's accessible to the public, and you get up close to it. But yeah, I think there's potentially going to be a couple of stuff like that maybe sprinkled up there, but I think in the end it might end up being a viewing location for launches.
Yeah, thank you, Nick.
That's it for the questions.
Oh, cool. Let's head over to our favourite site, the launch site. Alrighty. Cool, we're going good on time and everything. Well done, everyone. Cool, this is working well. Okay, so let me see if we get all this right. Got some really nice images of up close of the launch OLM. So they've had the hemispheres and the linkages removed and put back in again. Most of them anyway. I think there's only a couple that weren't removed. I'm not sure whether they were replaced or just checked or just calibrated. I didn't notice the paint off these as well before. So we did notice this. We're talking about this a bit on show and tell, where the plume, as they do the pitch over manoeuvre, the plume fired into this section. I mean, mostly it handled. Gosh, it's almost a perfect circle there. So something needs probably change here in the future. I don't think they were quite expecting to see this. So Ryan, to do with water here.
Yeah, so this is actually very similar to what we saw on the apex. We can't actually see it in these images, but in some of the ground images on that ridge piece that goes across, there's a very similar effect that actually happened where if you look in some of these spots there, it almost looks like you can see like a point and then like a line or like a little cone that comes off of it. And that would actually be maybe a little more visible down a little bit further to the left, but that's the water that's shooting out of the hole, basically providing a little cone surface area of where it's actually protecting the steel, and then around it, the steel is just getting hot enough to where it's actually starting to brown. So that's how we can kind of see the whole pattern a little bit. But this is very similar to kind of what we're seeing with the new deck pieces for pad 1, but there are different configurations of the holes. As Stephanie was saying, you can kind of see like almost a perfect line where there's actually a couple different regions of hole densities. There's like a line right there, and there's another line that kind of runs a little bit further down. It kind of goes through that black part, Stephanie. Yeah, right. Yeah, kind of. There's like another radius kind of line that goes through there where the hole density changes, and it just looks like they don't have enough water shooting out in these areas to cool the steel effectively. So same thing happened on the apex panels, and they went through and they actually added more holes. So I would expect to see them drill some more holes in this kind of corner before the next launch, so that they can prevent some of the heating in those areas.
Yeah, it's quite noticeable, that one, just a little tiny. Like everything is in such good nick, except that just one little area. But I mean, that's something with what you're saying, more holes or something. I can see that being a fairly easy fix. I wonder if there's actually a bit of erosion there too, perhaps.
Yeah, the
Okay.
black almost looks like something spilled on it. I'm not sure what that necessarily is, but yeah, the black looks like it's maybe a different thing because I think it's maybe covering up some of the holes in some locations. It's really hard to see them. So it looks like they maybe tried to start cleaning it off, but didn't get it all cleaned off.
Okay, yeah. Okay, this week we saw landing rails being replaced. They were replaced with ones with a lot of weight, the holes drilled in them for weight reduction, so which would help, well, obviously would help with the overall mass of the actual chopstick arm itself, but would also help, I guess, the landing rail react a little better with the booster or ship landing on it. But I would say it's more to do with the actual overall weight of the overall chopstick. But you wouldn't think those few holes, considering how much steel is actually still here, would make a great deal of difference, would you, to the actual overall weight of the chopstick? So maybe it is more to do with the actual landing rails. I noticed they've had the dampeners out as well. They seem to have changed quite a lot in the landing rails in the last few days, over the last week.
Yeah, I was gonna try and do the math to figure out how much mass that's actually saving on the arm. Granted that, in one location, it's not gonna matter as much. Like if the arm isn't moving, it's one thing, but because you're kind of you're dealing with a radius out from the pivot point, the further away you get, the more force it's gonna take to actually, to get it to move, to stop and start. So I think there's actually a decent amount of weight savings by, removing some of that material, but I'll have to calculate that to see exactly what that expected range would be.
Cool. Let's see the electric actuators, and they've been moving these again backwards and forwards, so they're still dialing in the electric, getting rid of the wobble. I've noticed there's not as much wobble now as before. Is that right, Ryan? They seem to be dialing in the wobble quite well. Not quite getting as much bounce. It's all about the bounce. Interesting. We have no idea why, but they've decided to mark this pipe hot. So some speculation that maybe it does have a hot gas in it. I can't quite see it myself, but anyway, for some reason that has got hot written on it.
There's yeah, before you move any further, just going back to the chopsticks actuators, it did look like last night they were starting to slew that right chopstick again, and there was people watching. They were sitting right by the base of the actuator, seemed to be watching something when they were moving that arm. Yeah, I thought it was interesting to see.
Yeah,
And they've been going.
one thing I was going to add too is before they put the landing rail back on, I think it's specifically the arm on the left in this image. They did do a couple of swing tests where they were checking various speeds of swinging the arm around, and it looks very similar to actually what 3D printers do nowadays when they try and calibrate their input shaping. If you know anything about that, then you'll kind of know what I'm referring to. But basically, figuring out kind of the mass and the way that the vibration and the frequency affects the output motion compared to the expected input motion. And so, to me, because they did that without the landing rail on there, they were maybe trying to get a baseline, and then they may do that again with the landing rail on the arm, and then they would have the data from before when they had the old landing rail, and they'd be able to compare kind of all three of those to see what sort of differences there are between that, and that may inform them on whether or not that modification was actually worth it or not. So if they're designing, or building the landing rails for, Launch Complex 37, or future pads, that could be, incorporated if they want to do that.
Thank you. Yep, that all sounds about right. Very technical. Thank you. They've been working on the what do you call these things? These what do you call these things?
Skates.
The skates.
Yeah,
thank you.
I think they've replaced 3 out of 4 on that front pillar so far, and they did actually pull one from the bottom. Yeah, the arm we can't see on the other side of the tower. They pulled one from the end there as well.
So you're not sure what's going on there. They've had an upgrade, or have they found a problem, or what's going on there? But that's something they need to get sorted as well. So I was sort of talking in show and tell about for rapid reusability. I think they've got sort of like 90% of the whole launch infrastructure up to scratch for rapid reusability, and there's just these few little pesky spots here and there that they're having to modify just to get the rapid reusability part of the whole project going. It obviously functions very well. Launch went off without a hitch, except of course for that silly little locking pin there on the QD arm up there, of course, which was kind of annoying, but kind of hilarious that was a thing. So little teething problems here and there, but overall, I think the launch site did such a good job of actually launching a rocket, and yeah, just a few little teething issues here and there to get rapid reusability going on.
Yeah, it's hard to say, I guess, they are doing work around the site, but it's hard to say how much of it is, trying to respond to concerns or damage from the launch versus trying to, outfit for future operations. Landing rail stuff seems very, focused on kind of catching boosters. So, they're probably doing that work now just because they have some downtime to do it. It's not necessarily required. So it is hard to tell. Some of these, items, they do look like they could be, along the lines of that versus there's other stuff that, appears to be more like response to, concerns from the launch. So I think after the next launch, we might get a clearer picture on maybe what, for refurbishment wise, what is more important between the launches. But already it seems like it's significantly less than what we ever experienced with Pad 1.
Oh, absolutely, yes, very much so. And it took like a few guys to actually get Pad 1 up to actually launch, didn't it? It was quite a lot of work went in before launch 1, and even after launch 1 there was so much more work to do to get to launch 2. So I mean, we don't see any of that. This is looking like really immaculate compared to Pad 1 after flight. But I mean, flight 1's not a good indicator because things went seriously wrong on that flight. But yeah, the whole pad, there's a couple little hot spots here and there. They might have to modify the water system. Yeah, little spots here and there, but I was pretty impressed with the whole system. So Pad 1, anything else, Jake, I missed on Pad 1? Oh, Pad 2, sorry.
I don't know if we talked about the rails on the floor, the old ones that they removed. You can see how they've how they don't have the openings in that one side that we talked about last week.
Yeah, so we're looking at the inside face there of the old ones. So that would have been the surface that the pads were mounted to. So they basically, it kind of looks like they took the old ones off, put them here, had the new rails sitting on the cribbing to the left, swapped over all of the bumper panels, bolted those on, and then lifted them back up. And so they may also be swapping out or refurbishing some of the kind of the gas dampers there as well.
Yep. Very good.
Oh, and the electrical building that we saw with stuff ripped off it last week. We can see how they cleaned that up a bit this week as well.
I'll get over there in a sec. We'll just finish with Pad B for a second here. So they've, which is a bit unusual for SpaceX, they're actually going to fix the whole wall and not just a broken part of the wall. So I think this is still some of the original wall from I think this is actually the old wall from the suborbital tank farm days. And from there on, they had added this extra footing under that wall. So they're just going to redo that big footing through here and come all the way over to here, where this is all new wall again from here on below this. This image here is better to show. Oh, this is new wall as well. So just that little last final remnants of orbital tank farm. is finally being redone.
So I
Okay,
do
well,
have
go
some
on.
numbers here real quick for the cutouts and the landing rails.
Of
So
course you do. Thank you.
based on kind of the rough calculations that I've got and the volume and the density of, assuming like carbon steel for those rails, it looks like the holes cut out from the inside of the landing rail would result in about 700 kilograms in savings, which is basically like 1,500 pounds. So it's not nothing, but it's also not, it's like 1.5 tons. So it can affect a decent amount by removing that material.
That's
Yeah.
both one rail each or both rails together.
That's a single rail. So a single arm would experience about 1.5 tons in difference.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty decent size, weight savings there. That's,
Okay, thanks. So that makes a lot more sense knowing that number. Yeah, cool. That's quite a lot. Is this... Oh, that's the shadow, isn't it? That's just the shadow of the arm. I was thinking, does this show more of the burn pattern? But that's just the shadow. Shadows. Okay, cool. Thank you, Ryan. You're amazing with your numbers. Thank you very much. And being able to do them so quick, that's pretty amazing. I know that you know this site. I mean, I know you know the bits and pieces of Starbase so very well like that. Your modelling's simply outstanding. Okay, over here, this building hasn't had much change. They've been doing a bit of work around here to finish these last bits of concrete off. Finishing off this bit of concrete through here. So I guess they'll have this wall up sooner or later, which I guess we expected to see. We can get to this building in a sec. Let's see, one of these photos might show it. Yeah, they've cleaned up. People call this Stephanie's building because I want it gone, but I don't think it's going anywhere. So we had a bit of a discussion whether we think it's from external vacuum or internal overpressure, but I think you have convinced me that it was from internal overpressure, considering there's no other damage on the outside.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it makes a lot more sense it being an internal only thing because, surely we'd see damage on the building opposite it and other surroundings if it was actually something external that damaged it.
Yeah, perhaps, yeah, yep. Okay, so moving through the site, let me see. Those blast doors have gone. All this stuff's gone. I can't see those blast doors anymore. Maybe have they been put on? Not sure. Looks like they're still very much pitting out that building. I guess we won't see. I'm really waiting for that building to be finished so we can finally see, where is it, this building down here, get rid of it.
Oh, I don't know if can we show anything of the satellite photo of LC-39A. I'm going to tie in with the Pad 2 Delge farm here. But they look to have actually added more gas generators at the LC-39A Delge farm. I'm wondering if we'll see the same at this farm as well eventually.
They have, yes, they have added extra gas generators in here. They've filled in some of the spare slots, yes. Here at 39A. Yes, so we may see that here, yes. Oh wow, look at all the concrete. Oh wow, that's looking so good. Holy moly. Wow. Look at all the cladding. Wow. Oh, that's getting closer and closer by the week. Wow.
It kind of looks to me like the cladding might be a little bit different too, because the vents that we see, it almost looks like they're in a different spot and they're a different design. There's like a pattern of like
Yeah.
two lightly colored ones, which I can only assume comes from the way the light is deflecting off of an angled surface differently. But yeah, it looks like the vents are different on that one.
We thank Event Dudes for giving us those images. Yeah, the crane, SpaceX's crane has moved over here to where it was for the longest time. Hopefully it gets put back together again soon. Not sure what Cash is saying hello to. Cash is saying hello to everybody. Look out. He likes to interrupt my mouse hand. So down here we've got heaps of concrete getting removed. Concrete. Down here we can actually see more of the old booster parking bay here, like a rocket garden sort of spot. I remember Booster 8 sitting here for the longest time, so it never actually flew, did it, Booster 8?
Yeah, and they used the Booster 4 was sat on that quite a lot as well when they were installing engines and pulling engines, and yeah, that part had been around for quite a long time.
It's kind of crazy that that used to be like the back of the site, and then like
Yeah,
as the infrastructure has creeped, from the highway, it became like the middle of the traffic zone. But they never used to move anything through there until everything kind of crept up and pushed against. I lost track of really where it was at up until more recently, and kind of realized that it was right there.
Yeah, last week I had to reference a photo of these BJ Raider scripts so we can see two of the embeds, and I'm looking over here, I'm looking around. I actually had to go back a few weeks and line it up here with these pipes here to actually work out where on earth it was. But yeah, I actually thought it was over here somewhere, but yeah, like you, Ryan, it took me a minute to work out where it was. Okay, a bit further along with that over there. It's not a good shot. Try this shot. I'll get there, hang on. There's awesome amount of photos. So sometimes it's a bit hard to find the right photo, but it's awesome amount of photos we get. And I mean, considering the weather, man, RGV aerial photography did such a good job to get around the clouds and through the clouds, and the pilot and Fred and everybody, they did such a good job getting these images through. And a little bit of tidy up in Photoshop, but I mean, a bit lucky with the clouds as well. Okay, on to, I guess that's pretty well that left-hand side of the site, or that side of the site anyway.
Before we move off this photo, I think maybe mention that probably the reason why this concrete is going is due to the LOX cannon usage along those tanks, creating a pool of liquid oxygen on the ground, and concrete doesn't really like that. It tends to crack it. So I'm guessing that this concrete was pretty damaged from especially the wet dress rehearsals and then the two launch attempts.
It kind of ran over here too, didn't it? The LOX from here, it kind of ran over this way too, didn't it?
Yeah, I'm guessing they probably, they try and reuse concrete if they can, but I'm guessing they probably want a clean slate through here. Plus, they also are probably gonna have to be running propellant lines through this area at some point over to the new tower. Well, I guess old tower, but so I'm guessing it needed to go regardless, and they kind of just took that as an excuse to do that at that time.
Yeah, it's 50-50 whether it's damage or just something had to be done. I think we talked about that in the show and tell. Yeah, it could have been a bit of both even. Cool. Now, let me see here. Just find a photo I'm looking for. Hang on, give me a second here. Let me see. Where is that in? Yeah, give me a second. All right. There was a photo from that end for this set of tanks and everything. Oh, that's not it. Yeah, this one might have to do for now. So over here, they're continuing to put piles in for the new tanks. Looks like they've got two tanks worth of footings and everything ready here that seem to be lined up with these tanks. I think over there, somewhere along the line here, the tanks are going to take a step like that, I think, through here. Let me see. Oh, we're coming back. Oh, we're getting there now. Now we're talking. This is the photos I'm looking for. Okay, this one will do. So through here, looks like these tanks are getting lined up. These footings are getting lined up with these tanks. This is the photo that shows it. Shows these footings through here in line. So as this front steps back here, I think we'll find the back step across there as well. This conduit, I've got an idea. This conduit's for the new launch pad, or the old launch pad revamp. To get a lot of services, we can see some quite large conduits in there which could be for some of the 3 single phases each of the high voltage to go to transformers, and then a whole heap of control gear and sub-circuits. I'm imagining that's what all that's in aid of. So let's see through here as well. They're sort of right up under the pipe rack here, and pretty well up to this wall to go through here. So they'll have to just put some of that conduit around these piles through here. Maybe just for the tower, there's a better shot. Shows how it kind of lines up with the tower too. Maybe just one of these longer shots. Sort of maybe it's just for the tower, for all the power, just for the tower power. And then maybe some of the other, like, because it's all dug up, maybe some of the other electrical might even come around this way yet. But I mean, that's a good spot to start distribution for the whole of this expansion out here. There needs to be a massive amount of power run over to here for that gas plant over here. Obviously there's power for the bunker, but Jake, you were saying that's could be straight from this bunker. Looks like a good run for that bunker to run the GSC building.
Yeah, they'll probably replace the bunker, but I reckon they'll have it in the same place then. And yeah, like I said, there's a nice straight run from there over to the service structure. It's I think that's probably what makes more sense with that.
And I still believe all these methane tanks were moved over there before launch. Just not for a while. They'll still do quite a few launches off this pad using those methane tanks, but I think at some stage they're going to move all that methane farm over there. That's still speculation, highly speculative, obviously. Please don't take what I say for granted, because it's probably not correct. It's really nice, actually, distance photos this week. Okay, so that's the tank farm.
Oh, there was actually, I don't know if we covered it at all over by part 2. There's that new conduit run coming from the corner of the Doge at the retention pond.
Yep, that's correct. We didn't actually cover it today. We did cover it in the show and tell. I've got it here in these photos. So, given where it comes from, maybe I need to use that distance shot. I might just go back to it quickly because I can find it. Given it comes from here, there is power here. It comes from a power box here. I'm kind of thinking maybe it's a temporary power supply for now. There's lots of conduit here, so it tells me that it's going to be an electrical run. Oh, this is the photo I was looking for. So sometimes it's just a bit hard to find the photo. So this is some power here, so they can pick up. I'm not sure what's going on here, that actual trench, but this seems to be picking up power. And these are all electrical conduits with a few manufactured bends and so on, and more conduit over here. So pretty sure it's, there's even marks here. The marks all the way along here. Probably marking the trench with the digger. Yeah, maybe some kind of temporary power supply for, I don't know, for whatever in this area. They're actually using the tanker the proper way, pulling water from the actual retention pond, maybe getting rid of a bit of silt and so on built up out of the retention pond. Actually, they're actually pumping water out this time rather than dumping water in. Thanks, Jake. Okay, pad 1. It's been slowly getting worked on. We can see the pile cap for the basement for the GC building is being poured, and all of the embeds and that are in here for the steel framework to get bolted in. So that's where the main cryo lines came in and then popped up through the floor into the GC building. So the GC building spans all the way from there all the way across to here, and then we can see the shape of the corner. It's coming through here, which will go all the way. This photo is a bit better for the actual shape. Comes all the way through and actually overlaps. This angle goes all the way across to here somewhere, and then on that end, that angle goes across there somewhere. So that's the GC bunker. All the pile cap for that. The rat slab's been poured, so the pile cap's being constructed on top. You can see they've exposed the piles there for it, and all the rebar sitting over here. There's a lot of rebar, tons of rebar. Rio, call it Rio in Australia. I can see the walls where they change heights going down, so there's that wall goes down to the bottom level. This is formwork behind for that wall. So the concrete comes along, then goes up, and then comes along again. And then the bunker gets put on top of that again. Last week we discussed this being lifted in 3 pieces, which still looks to be the case. And that's...
3 or 4?
Sorry, 4. Sorry, 4 sections, yep. And I'm pretty sure that's part of that wall that sits down along there.
Yeah, and then you can see the other piece that sits in lower level on the end of the wing. If you go to the right a bit more, it's cut off in this photo.
Gonna make me change photos. Here we go. Let me see.
Still kind of cut off.
We're spoiled for choice, I tell you.
Yeah, it's basically it's the section of the basement that sits underneath one of the wings. It's got that angled piece on top of it.
In here, yeah?
Yeah. Is it in there, or does it sit slightly further along?
It should be that side because it has the angled piece for the corner.
It's got a span. It's got a span over the top here. Because the building comes right through to here. However it works, through here, through there, whatever. Whereas this one sits on the ground, so it doesn't need it. I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, you've got the piece basically that does like the left kind of third of the kind of basement area where all the piping is going to go. So you have a piece for there, and then you have the piece that does the other 2/3.
Okay, cool. So that's the GC bunkers coming along nicely with all its foundation work. Now, they have been digging a lot in the trench, taking it out in these construction site trucks, digging down quite a lot. A little bit of water still here and there. Not as much water as the other side. They're not using any real pumping, like Alex said. So this sort of double sheet pile system is working out quite well for them. Now that's not the right shot. Hang on, I'm going ahead of myself there.
That's a good photo of the the different pieces.
Yeah. Actually, while we're here, we've got lots of wall sections. The speed wall sections coming in, and we noticed a little bit of variation with them, with the bottoms of them. Just let me find that photo quickly.
Well, that one shows the internal structures a little bit better than the other photos we saw, but yeah, there's it kind of looks like the lip that they used to bolt those to the bottom of the trench at the lower level is a lot smaller. And then the inside of the actual sections themselves seem to have this kind of ribbing structure that goes across, which is not something that I think we saw with the Pad 2 design.
I wonder if that's just shaped. It looks kind of like jagged. It's not actually shaped for a pipe or anything, is it? Maybe it's just shaped like that. Sort of allow concrete to even flow through, maybe.
That's kind of what I was thinking, is it does look like it's shaped in a way that creates like an arc or an opening, and then maybe the act of filling it with concrete helps kind of just embed it into the concrete. But I still feel like they probably need another way to attach it to the ground before the concrete's put in it.
And we counted. You on your drawings, you've got 10 of these for the straight. 10 of these straight pieces for the bottom of the trench, and we found 10 of them actually here. So we saw these photos here we can see these pieces down here that are actually straight. Not necessarily that piece, but the other pieces through here. And there's like 5 of them on each side. So that's those pieces accounted for. And then there's these pieces accounted for. And I guess there's still sort of these pieces to find. Not sure they're all quite here yet, but yeah, definitely getting a lot of different things on site. Hey, was this photo? Sort of this angle we saw the first lot of those speed core walls. This one is sort of okay for it. Let me try this one. Yeah, there we go. This is the photo we're looking at first. So yeah, we found 10 with those extra ribs down the bottom, and then the rest of them for stacking on top. So they're not quite enough speed core walls just yet, but they'll be arriving in droves as we go. Okay, so over there we had the roof. They've got the area ready for the constructing the roof for pad 1. Over here they've got some stands set up, got all the bits and pieces here. So I guess they're going to build the roof over here for this pad. And up on that roof they've got all the bits and pieces of bracing over there to get the roof braced, ready for get the tower ready for the roof. Oh, actually, we didn't go here. Sorry, quickly. They've finished the tops of these up too over here on Tower 2. Actually, just quickly, sorry. I was doing this on the show and tell. I was doing this on show and tell. I was jumping all over the place. But anyway, that's how we roll some days. So the roof construction over there. Over in that little wing area, they poured that concrete over there. There's a better shot of that. And they're starting to here they're starting to get contractors setting their stuff out again properly. So the scaffolding there, but some of the contractors are in here. Some of the we saw these before, culverts probably for the ASU. Oh, that's how you move trailers around, yeah, just like that.
One way of doing it.
A bit of an overkill.
A nice pile of tower shielding too there to the right.
Yes, that's right. Yep. All sorts of things being assembled. So yeah, they are motoring along. I imagine it won't take them. I mean, it's going to take them quite a while, I guess. But yeah, they are motoring along. So the construction trucks here are bringing dirt just around to here. They're dumping soil, from the dirt, I guess, from the trench, and then they're moving into these trucks these dump trucks to take it off site. That makes a lot of sense because these dump trucks don't really like these sort of situations with rebar and all sorts of things. All that rough fill, that very clean fill. This is the shot I was looking for earlier, in here. So pad 2, what have I not said on pad 2? Oh, cool, we've done our 2 hours, awesome. Good stuff. Okay, well, while we're thinking about pad 2, we'll jump over to the ASU. There's not a great deal to talk about the ASU. Oh, there's a few things. So, a little bit of
some progress this week.
A little bit of conduit going on, just a little bit.
A little bit.
My goodness. So we can see, I'm thinking, as Jake sort of helped me make aware, we've sort of got phase A, B, and C for the high voltage. So there's 3, 6, 9, sort of 12 of them. And over the whole site, we're going to have maybe 3, sort of 6, 9 sort of transformers. And each one of them is going to need an A leg, a B leg, and a C leg of the 3-phase in high voltage. So that pretty well accounts for those bigger conduits. And then, the sub-circuits and control circuits going off between the...
And where do we think that main conduit's going to go from there straight under the roundabout, or is it going to go along under a
I'd-
narrower part of Highway 4?
I'm thinking that just here there's culverts, vaults. I'm thinking that maybe here some big vaults put in right here even to tap into the
Oh,
main
yeah.
power
Yeah.
coming in through here. I'll pick up the main, whatever it is, it's quite high voltage here. I think it's tens of thousands of volts to pick up the main high voltage, high tension transformers. So this will all be high tension. So high tension's another way to talk about high voltage, talk about high tension cabling for high voltage, and then all the lower voltage sub-circuits coming through. A bit of work going on over at ASU. They've got all the pretty well all the wall panels have been put in place, and this week we actually see some of the runs between the two, between the building, the compressor building, and the actual ASU proper. So we're not sure still here. This is where I really need someone like Alex who's a bit more versed on these, because we're pretty sure the inlets for this system is actually down in here. Was it you, Ryan, talking about this on the show and tell as well, actually? This photo shows it better. So there's some inputs down here. I'm pretty sure the inputs start over this area. But then there's probably some kind of return or some kind of whatever lines through here. A little expansion joint. So lots of pipes in here to add to it. So this is getting coming along nicely. It seemed to sort of slow down for a while, but they're very much getting more and more done in the last
Do you
few
reckon
weeks.
do you reckon there's a good chance this is all up and running by the end of the year? Or will it probably take less time than that, longer than that?
That sounds about right. Remember, it's always 80% of the work is after, like 20% of the work's putting things in place, and 80% of the work's all the fit off. Like there's going to be heaps of electrical and air lines and liquid lines and whatever to finish up in here. So yeah, perhaps by the end of the year. That's probably in the paperwork when it's due to be started. But yeah, end of the year sounds about right. Boy, isn't that going to make a huge difference to them? I can still imagine like how that wet dress rehearsal, then the next day, then a failed launch. There may be a time still where we see a procession of trucks if they need a massive amount of cryogenic fluid like within 24 hours. We may see every now and again, even with this running, we may see a procession of trucks, or we're going to see a massive increase in the tank farm where where we won't ever actually have to see that, because they'll have, if all these tanks across here for oxygen and nitrogen, they may be able to handle a wet dress rehearsal on one day, then a failed launch the next day, then a launch the day after. There may be enough actually in storage by then. And I think, Ryan, too, by then they're going to have this oxygen system worked out where they can actually recover a lot of this oxygen by then too. Like in buffer tanks or something. Okay, over here there was a new pipe last week. It looks like it's been installed in here. Okay, so that's the ASU, I think. So I'll take some questions. Andy, thanks.
Sure. We'll start off with the donations. We want to thank DMHMT for her $20 donation. And she says, thank you for being tenacious through the cloud cover and those excellent ground shots. And then for questions, our first question is from Lev0824. They're wondering, are the catch towers the primary plan for the future, or are they have an approval just in case? If it is the plan, does that mean in the future we will not see catches from launch towers?
I think the catch towers have been primarily thought to be for ships only. The launch towers it seems logical to catch the boosters with those because you can immediately put them back on the pad, and then detank them, safe them, and then roll up a new ship to then put on top. There's kind of an issue with trying to catch the ship right next to a booster that's already sitting there. Maybe some concerns with how that has to take place, and with the way that the arms kind of open and close, it kind of limits where the catch can actually take place. So, in other words, I think it seems improbable that we would see a ship catch above a booster because the ship plume would basically cook the top of the booster for, time that is probably not desired. So I think that's the primary idea is that they, if they really want to push out as many launches as they can, as many, payloads, that they would probably have a separate tower that they would bring the ships back to in order to catch them. But it might be a while before we see something like that materialize. I don't think we would probably ever have that at Starbase, but maybe in Florida.
Fair enough. Crane Man is wondering, the smaller vertical tanks at the harbor look like the same types next to the OTF vaporizers. Are they planning to expand that section of the OTF?
Not sure. The actual tank farm over here. They may be extra, going on that, I'm just only guessing here. They may be extra, these, for the extra tanks, they may need more of this for when they continue adding more tanks. That could be the case, yes. Like once they, where is it? Sorry. Once they fill in this area here, they may need more of these for these new tanks.
Yeah,
sure.
let's say the smaller vertical tanks probably, but there's those big ones as well with the ones that bolt down the round bottoms to them that bolt down to the ground. Well, they all bolt to the ground, but yeah, there's the bigger ones at the port that are more like the big storage tanks, like the methane tanks and Marcy's. I'm not sure where they'd go if they were for SpaceX.
Is that wall cut? Is that new? Looks like right.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
like cutting a hole in the wall.
does look like it.
Concrete wall.
They're going to transplant it and stick it down the other end of the launch site.
Maybe.
I was actually kind of wondering if I think you maybe mentioned this in show and tell, Stephanie, but that conduit that's coming through, it kind of looks like it kind of stops right here, kind of in front of those vaporizers in that area. If they were to put another kind of bunker, fabricated bunker, they could put it there. But if they do that, it kind of made it seem a little odd as far as getting vehicles into service some of this equipment. So another entrance right here would make sense if that was the case.
Okay. So yeah, this building here that services the tower, I guess, or maybe I think it services. I think that services the tower, and this one services the pump farm. I'm not sure about that now because there were conduits going all the way through here. But yeah, something similar to that building I'm expecting, to see here, yes.
Where I know it's the mud map, which isn't always set in solid stone, but weren't they planning to have vehicle tankers come up around you from the offload station and come back out another entrance? I know it was originally supposed to be next to the mega bunker, but they may have changed that slightly now and having it come out with a new entrance.
Yeah, like you keep saying, the mud maps, I think for now, it should be taken as a vague idea rather than a finished product. And yeah, I think and even once they finish a site, then they go and change it again. So I think we're going to see lots of differences over the next sort of year or so, yes. But I mean, it's not going to be as many tankers too, don't forget. Thanks, Cindy.
Along the same lines, Missing Tools is wondering, could the vertical tanks at the port be for future LOX recovery?
Well, the theory about LOX recovery, I think, if I remember speaking to Alex properly, this tank here, during initial testing with nitrogen, they use this as a dump a tank to dump, the waste gas into, and they can recover. I think they're going to have a similar thing for LOX, one of these tanks. They can literally dump this line actually into a tank and then contain it and recover it like that, perhaps. It's hard to...
Yeah,
Go
which
on.
vertical tanks are we referring to here? Are we talking about the old water deluge tanks that are there?
No, there's the
Uh,
other. There's the new tank sitting closer to the water, not in this
yeah.
part here.
They're
By
over
the
here.
way,
No.
yeah. By the way, there is actually a new an entrance planned for that area of the launch site. It's on the mud map. I did put the mud map in the Patreon knowledge. You're going to bring it up after.
Cool. Where is it? There's at the port. There's new tank. Where is it? Have I got the wrong week? Hang on. My apologies. I have the wrong week. Let's try this lot. Yeah, there's new tanks over here. Well, these tanks they're talking about. Sorry. So that's 7 new tanks all up here at the port. 3 here, horizontal tanks, and then the 4 tanks over at the other holding spot. And yeah, now there's these. So these are similar to the tanks, the methane tanks at Massey's, whereas these are more similar to the these tanks here are more similar to these tanks. So
Yeah, they look a bit small to be the launch site tank from those ones on the left there. Bit short.
So I'm not sure yet where these are all going. I mean, and why? Hang on. Oh, that's just covering. They're not ribs on top. I thought they were like rib
Yeah,
tanks.
just covering.
Okay, but still, they're a little bit different to the tanks. Oh no, they'll look similar enough. They look a little bit different to these tanks, but I expect. Well, I mean, there's 2 of the 6 new tanks of the 7 new horizontal tanks. Sorry, at the port. I'm expecting at least 2 to go here to start with. That I do know. After that, I guess there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new tanks through here, more than likely, horizontal tanks. And I'm literally once again expecting one of these horizontal tanks to be used for that oxygen dump system. The vertical tanks, I'm not sure. People were asking whether they could belong to the ASU, but I don't know that there's actually any footings available for those round tanks at the ASU. I think all of the footings that were seen at the ASU have actually been taken up. I think there may be one more back here. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I do remember seeing there's 2 sets of footings there for vertical tanks, from what I can remember from a while ago.
So you're not sure exactly where all the vertical tanks... I'm pretty sure all the horizontal tanks are accounted for, but yeah, I'm not sure about the vertical tanks. I think there's Massey's, I think, may need another vertical tank for the new nitrogen tanks over there, perhaps. Where have we got a photo of that? These tanks may need, this set of tanks may need a new gas generation system, although I'm expecting these tanks to be removed and they can use... Well, they don't actually have it here. They've got that old spear. Yeah, so these tanks here may require another set of these tanks too. So, although they have these here for them. So there's lots of vertical tanks around unaccounted for, but I'm kind of confident about the vertical tanks. I mean, the horizontal tanks. All this is speculation. Please don't take our word for granted with all these things. As we know, things can and do very much change here at Starbase quite quickly. But we do know at least 2 horizontal tanks are going here very soon. They've got the ramp and everything built ready for them. They're more than likely going to come this week even. Or maybe they'll finish this bit of concreting first as well. Oh, so this week too. Sorry, the things I keep not remembering. They removed all the old pipe work in here, so there's plenty of room here for the new skids to go in here, and they've also marked some of this wall to be gone in here. We do have a good shot of it, but this wall in here has been marked to be cut away, especially where the conduit is. In here, there's marks in here, so I think that wall's gonna go soon. So thanks, Cindy.
Sharpie's wondering, how do you think commodities get transported from the ASU to the fuel tank farm?
Yeah, underground. So those culverts that are sitting down over here, so there's a good chance they're going to get put under the road, either under the road here and across here, or across here and across here. Under the road, more than likely vacuum jacketed pipes straight into maybe the fill lines in here, I guess, or maybe new dedicated lines, pipes are going to be put in, but more than likely some vacuum jacketed pipes run in between. I doubt they'll Bluetooth it, but yeah, somehow they're going to run pipes either around here or over there. One of the three, either this way or that way. One of the three. Shapeshifter concrete.
Jacob's wondering, have you guys seen the permitting for an LNG pipeline to Starbase from the port?
Yeah,
yeah,
that was being talked about in the Patreon lounge, I think, wasn't it?
yeah, there's a few options there between how they looks like they might go. Event Dudes was trying to work it out with the paperwork and the actual kilometres or miles. But yeah, there's a couple of different routes. They're looking like they might bring the natural gas in. We'll have to wait and see a bit more about that in the future.
And we'll talk more about it on Tuesday.
Yeah, thank you for that little plug.
Psychology is wondering, have we seen any signs of the plans for the SQD arm on Pad 1?
Plans? No, we think we've got a pad for it. Maybe it's going to get built over there. Plans. I mean, it's going to look like this one. I very much imagine.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have to replace the fort at the end of it. But whether they replace the shoulder of it as well remains to be seen. I mean, they can modify that shoulder piece in place, although it may just be easy just to create a whole new shoulder for it, possibly, to replace it.
I think they're probably just going to gut the existing truss and then add in what they need, to it while it's on the ground. Then build a whole new truss. It's kind of, I mean, it seems a little wasteful to get rid of the truss when the truss is basically the exact same design. It's just the end that's different for the most part.
This truss.
Well, I was talking about I guess you guys are calling it the shoulder. That would be, it's basically the same. There's a couple of new kind of pipes inside there on pad 2, but they could certainly add those to that arm when it's off and on the ground. But then, yeah, the end of it, the straight, extension truss piece, that's, obviously new for pad 2. So they would have a new one of those built.
And does it have to go up or down, or is this the right height now for this part of the arm?
I believe this is the right height right now for the new pad.
Yeah.
Although it all depends whether they build this pad for V3 or if they build it ready for V4, maybe. Though I guess V4 is probably still quite a ways off.
Yeah, that is a good point. So I imagine from like a timeline perspective, they're probably going to build the roof for this tower, get a crane here that allows them to lift that up there, and then they'll use that same crane at that point, then or the configuration to probably they might have to reconfigure, not entirely sure, but then they'll pull off the SQD arm from there. But during that time while it's off the tower, they may be able to add the extra mounts for the arm. So we have the set that they'll use for version 4, which will be a little higher.
All right,
Thank
and
you,
last
Andy.
question.
Cool.
For missing tools, have the chopsticks hoist sheaves been reconfigured yet? Needed before installing new roof on pad 1?
No, they haven't done any reconfiguration of those sheaves yet. That's still due to be done at some point. And what was the other part of your questions, India?
Are they needed before installing the new roof on pad 1?
It doesn't look like they're going to be doing that before putting the new roof on. From what we're seeing, because they started installing the reinforcements for the roof, and they have set up the pipe stands to start assembling the roof itself on the ground. So yeah, I think the roof's going to go on before that other work.
All right,
Very
thanks.
much. That's all the questions.
Thanks, chat, for all the questions, and yeah, thank you so much for all your support. It's wonderful to see all those donations. Thank you very much, and your continued support for the channel. That's awesome. So, all right, so thank you, Jake, for joining us today. I really appreciate you being on the show. It makes my job a lot easier when you're with me as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's not a problem. It's always happy to be on these and try and answer people's questions and help point out the things that you might miss as well. Yeah, I look forward to being on the next one, on another one in the future.
And Ryan Hansen, yeah, it's always a great pleasure to have you on the show with all your huge amount of knowledge with all the different infrastructure pieces at Starbase. Like coming up with that weight savings just before. That's just amazing, things like that. So I really appreciate your time today. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, no problem. It's always good to be on these shows and sometimes solve some mysteries in real time and speculate about some stuff. But yeah, it's a good time, and every time there's always lots of cool stuff to talk about. So many things going on around Starbase.
Yeah, solving things in real time. That's a real buzz when that happens on the shows, I must say. That's actually a real highlight for my shows is when that happens. Thank you. And it takes a bit of a village to get those things to happen sometimes, so thank you. Indy, thank you so much for being in chat today and looking after chat for us and bringing up the questions. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks to Aster Joe and for Matt for being in there too.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I see Joe in there as well. Okay, so I'm Stephanie B. I'm going to sign off, and I'll leave Matt to sign off for the whole show. Thank you, Matt, for being our wonderful producer and pushing the buttons and turning the knobs for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steph, and thank you to all of our viewers, subscribers, members, and supporters. We really appreciate you all so very much. Everything that you guys do as far as watching and donating and everything really helps and goes a long way, so we appreciate that. So we do have our next flyover scheduled for this coming Saturday at 10 a.m., so look forward to that. And of course, on Tuesday, we will have our Starbase Expanded show at 6 p.m. Central. So definitely look forward to that. If you guys like all the little extra deep dives and rabbit holes about all the different areas in Starbase, Texas. So we will see you guys then. And until then, most engines cut off, hot staging confirmed. Love you, bye.